One of the most impactful personalities that ever changed the absolute game for how I viewed the world, how I viewed business, how I viewed life, how I viewed marketing, sales, and everything in between is a guy named Seth Godin. And one book in particular, and I don't think it was his most famous book. I think his most famous book was Purple Cow. But one book in particular had the most profound effect on me, and it's one of the shortest books that he wrote. It's called Poke the Box. And in it, he gives example after example of what happens when you just do things, giving success stories of people who didn't have everything perfect, but they had just enough. It was at that 80% or more mark, and they shipped it. And it's those things that actually made it an experience for those who were blessed by the person who shipped it or the company who shipped it and so on. And so I want to talk a little bit about this because it's such an important aspect, and it's what holds a lot of us back, including myself. It's funny because even with this particular presentation, I was like, should I talk about this? Shouldn't I talk about AI or talk about delegating and automation and virtual assistants and virtual systems architects and things like that? Or maybe I should talk about mindset and so on. No, this is very important. This is something that had a profound impact on my life and many, many others, and I want it to have that same impact for you. So, before we get into that, hi, my name is Dean Soto. I am the founder and president of Prosulum, Prosulum. So Prosulum.com if you want to go and check that out. And we are a virtual staffing agency, and we've been around for many, many years. And you might have heard of a virtual assistant. Here in California, your typical in-house hire is going to be around $20 to $25 per hour if you count payroll tax and workman's comp and all that other stuff. But a virtual systems architect, similar to a virtual assistant, is about half the cost of that. And what makes them even more different is you give an employee or you give a virtual assistant a task, they will hopefully do the task right the first time. Probably not, because they'll ask you question after question after question. And then when they do it, the next time you have them do it, they might have more questions and more questions and more questions. And, you're just babysitting at that point. You're putting out fires, and you can never really truly let go because there's always going to be questions. A virtual systems architect, on the other hand, you give them a task, they will go and document it into a step-by-step checklist, perfect, with pictures and everything like that. Then they go do it perfectly. And then you never have to do that task ever again. You never have to answer questions about that task ever again because it's so simple that even your grandma could do it. So they do that. You give them 30 different tasks, one task a day for a month. That's 30 things that you never have to do ever again in your business. And that allows you to scale. That allows you to ship, which leads me into our presentation now. So if that sounds good, go to prosulum.com, prosulum.com/schedule if you would like to get on a call. All right. So shipping it. If it doesn't ship, it doesn't count. That is from, I wish he was my actual mentor, but he's definitely my mentor in some fashion or another, Mr. Seth Godin. All right. So 80% of businesses fail due to overthinking. And I would say that 100% of businesses fail because people don't even start it. I can't tell you how many people, I remember when I was working at Boeing, there's this one guy, genius of a guy, super smart, great personality too, which is very rare to have somebody who's an engineering genius and a good personality. He was building this cryptographic way of allowing businesses to send things through the internet without having to worry about security because of how it was done. And it was genius. It was essentially similar to how a lot of the cryptocurrencies work now. And this is back in 2000, had to be around like 2009. And so cryptocurrencies were just starting to become popular, with Bitcoin and so on. There wasn't too many. And he had this idea, and I thought it was fantastic. We go and we have lunch at the Boeing campus, and he doesn't want to share anything about it. He just says kind of like a overview of what it is. And he's asking me for tips on how to start this business because I had already started mine and he knew that. And I'm thinking, dude, nobody's going to steal your idea. But he was dead set that if he doesn't put this out perfectly, that it's going to be stolen by the cafeteria lady. She's going to take it to her grandson, and her grandson's going to turn it into this multi-billion-dollar business. Never happens. And so what happened? He never brought it out. He never went forward with it because he was overthinking it so much. And he was so scared that if he put out a minimum viable product, that it would be stolen, taken, and so on and so forth. So it never happened. And so this is where perfectionism is very, very, very detrimental to the content creator, the not just the content creator, but the business owner, and so on and so forth, right? When you're being perfectionist, you are making it so people cannot give you feedback. The only feedback you're going to get is what you assume is going to happen. Okay? Perfectionism and mediocrity are both hiding places. So, real artists ship. This is where Seth Godin changed my mind when it came to anything that was created, whether it was a computer chip, whether it was a service, whether it is a back scratcher, whatever it is. You are an artist. And if you want proof of that people want art, people want artists to ship, people want to see your creations and experience your creations. If you want proof of that, look at Apple versus every other computer brand that's out there. Obviously, there's Microsoft when it comes to the operating system, but you have Asus, you have MSI, you have Dell, you have all these different computer brands. But the one that's most recognized is Apple. And why? It's not because Steve Jobs had the most versatile computer. In fact, it was a computer, every single thing that he puts out, it's not versatile at all. It's very constrained in what you can do and what you can't do. It is artistic. It is shipped, whether it's good or bad. Like if you look at the the latest iPhones that have come out, I would say the last 2 years, people have been disappointed for the most part, right? But they're still shipping. They get to 80%, they get the feedback from people, and then they adjust the next year. And the next year typically is the better year. Typically it's the wow year that Apple gets. Why? Because they got so much feedback from the art that they already shipped that they're able to deliver exactly what the customer, the consumer wanted. When you ship, it's putting your work into the world. It's establishing standards. Like you're able to set a foundation of what you're trying to give to the world. People give you your feedback, their feedback, and then you meet them and then you ship. The feedback is that fuel for improvement on the next and the next and the next. Obviously, you don't want to ship junk, but you want to ship. You want to get things out there. This is why when I have friends that ask me to mentor them in business, and they think I'm going to give them this flashy thing, but often I'm like, well, what are you good at right now? I have one friend over here who thought I was going to tell him. He came to me to learn how to do drop shipping not too long ago. And I'm like, well, what do you know now? What do you love to do? What are you good at? He's like, I'm good at breaking in horses. I'm good at doing things with horses over here and so on. And I'm like, cool. Do you have any customers asking you for that? He's like, well, I do have a neighbor who asked me like to do this multiple times and I just keep on saying no. I'm like, well, why don't you say yes? And now when he said yes, he has not just that neighbor, he has other neighbors asking him to break horses, to train them, to walk them, to ride them, to do all these different things. And it was simple as putting his art out there. And he's happy as a clam. People, process, and product. Ooh, what the heck? That was interesting. I know because so I've talked about this before. This is, the whole prophet, Marcus Lemonis, one of my heroes. I love him. I talk about him in a lot of these videos. People, process, and product equals success. You have the right team, right people in the right seats. That's from Gino Wickman. You have the process, documented systems that work, and then you have the product, what you're actually delivering. So the thing with this is that when you have a system of creation, like right now, I have a system of creation for these. I do not do these slides. In fact, these slides are based off of my brain and all the things that I value, and they're made for me. And I bring them and I go, oh my gosh, I want to talk about this topic, this topic, this topic, this topic. The slides are made for me. So there's the people who do the slides, the people who that are on my team that gather the data of what my clients want, my customers want, and so on. We have the process of building the slides, and then we have the product of delivering this. And for me, it makes it easy because I'm like, okay, what am I doing today? We're going to do just ship it. And then I get on here and I have a cool slide deck done by AI and my team. And based off of my thought process, so that I'm able to just ship. Now, if I didn't have this, what would I do? What I've done in the past is I just done stuff from my car, filling myself in the car. I could just take myself and enlarge myself to where we're just talking like this. 80% of the way. Hi, how's it going? My name is Dean Soto. We're talking about just ship it. There are plenty of content creators who literally just get in front of the camera like this. So it's totally acceptable and fine to do this. But the thing is, where a lot of business owners and content creators, including myself in the past, messed up is we didn't ship. We didn't actually do what we were supposed to do consistently. Okay. Obviously, I'm a systems guy, so we're talking about being able to work on your business, not in it. This allows you to be able to ship quickly, to ship often, to create. You're not going to be able to have that creative juice if you are constantly putting out fires. Most business owners work in their business and not on it. This is where systems come in to play. This is where documented systems come into play. This is why I created Prosulum with virtual systems architects who document what you show them, and then they do it. So they're not just your normal virtual assistant. They're actually like scaling your business as you go, because you can't be the creator anymore when you're constantly, oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? This is how you're able to ship. Is every day I can come at this time because my business is running, still doing stuff. In fact, sometimes I'll be on here and I'll get a thing from my payment processor that I made a sale, or I'll see a calendar thing come in and my sales guys are handling it and so on. That's how you're able to stay in that creative mode. Build systems and grow through process. Even if you're a solopreneur, whatever you can take off your plate, you can, whether it's through automation, things like that, or start hiring somebody overseas to just to get started, things of that nature. You want to put the right people in place, the right process, and so on and so forth. Okay. The way that Tim Cook gets up there with Apple and starts presenting the next iPhone is, for him, he has the right people in place. He has this clear strategy of where, if you go and look at Steve Jobs when he was alive, he was notorious for being a visionary that he never accepted no for an answer. When someone said no, he said, you have 2 months to do it. And guess what? It would happen. He would have the people there. He had the strategy. They would execute on it and then deliver and ship. And then the cash would come in and then he could do it all over again. Okay. Now here's the thing though. And I talked about this in the last video. Effectiveness is better than efficiency, because you can have a very efficient process that goes through all these 40 steps, but is it effective in shipping your product, shipping your art? And is it effective in bringing in feedback and bringing in cash flow? When I had my businesses in the beginning, a lot of the times I would build these fancy automations only to find out that they didn't really bring in any revenue. What brought in revenue was emailing customers. Here's our latest thing. That's what brought in revenue. As simple as that. When one task I could have, say, somebody do my newsletter versus me spending 40 hours creating this automation that maybe saved a little bit of time in the long run, but it didn't bring in any cash. Focusing on what's effective is far better than just creating an automation for automation's sake, or creating a process for process sake, and so on and so forth. So you want to focus on doing the right things, not just doing things right. Okay. Obviously, if you have a team, decentralize and empower your team. And knowledge workers need autonomy with accountability. These are the ones who, like my core team, do not like being micromanaged. I'm able to give them, which I'll show you in a later thing, give them far more than just these, do this, do that, do this. They are in a much higher realm of strategy when it comes to tasks and when it comes to this whole shipping thing. So when you're in business, you want to, so this is kind of like the EOS version of setting up your business to be able to ship well. If you never read EOS, or sorry, not EOS, Traction, the book Traction. I'm sure you can get it's actually a very good book. The I'm sure they have it on YouTube for free. I'm not saying to get the audiobook for free or whatever to get it pirated, but Traction is a very, very, very good book. Now, I found that it's a little bit too rigid for my company, and for my personality. Same thing with Scaling Up. It's a little bit too rigid. And I'm not saying that it won't work for you. It's fantastic. But what I got out of it and what really, really made a huge thing, a huge change, which is in line with Seth Godin's view, is you are the visionary. Everybody needs you to have the vision, to get everyone on the same page, and to start pushing everyone in a specific direction of creation. And then in the whole EOS system, you're going to have issues, you're going to have rocks, you're going to have all these processes, things like that. And then ultimately you're going to have traction, which allows you to move forward in your business. What I found is if you have the processes and then you have the people in place and you are free to have the vision of creation, that's 80 to 90% of the game. And you don't need absolutely everything else when it comes to this whole traction process. These three things, people, process, and your vision, allow you to make money while you sleep, allow you to create, allow you to ship. The thing that you have to have in your mind at all times when it comes to the whole idea of shipping, and you might be looking at this going, okay, why is he talking about, the Peter Drucker, and he's talking about Scaling Up, which is Vern Harnish, and, why is he talking about EOS and so on and so forth? Ultimately, you're trying to create an asset in your business. The Tim Cook of Apple is not doing the day-to-day work. When he is giving talks, when he is meeting with other executives of other companies, when he's negotiating mergers and acquisitions, when he's doing all of that stuff, things are being created in the back end. He has a timeline of when things should be shipped, and they ship according to that timeline. He's able to be the visionary for Apple, just like Steve Jobs was, and he's able to have this machine running behind him as an asset. If he got sick for a month, Apple's stock is not going to go down by 80% because it's not dependent on him, right? He built, well, he didn't build it, but Steve Jobs did, Apple into an asset, something that brings in money and is not a liability, because a lot of solopreneurs, the business can become a liability as soon as you get sick. It starts draining your pockets. Okay. We want this to be working for you, and every time you ship, it's a new asset that goes out. One of my good friends, Damon Zariadis, I just had lunch with him not too long ago. If you go to Amazon, you search Damon Zariadis, go look at the book, The Art of Saying No. Art of Saying No is one of the most popular productivity books that's out there. And go look at how many books he has written. Pretty much every year he does between 2 and 4 productivity type books. And every single one is an asset that generates revenue for him. And he just does it over and over and ships and ships and ships and ships and ships. And those are all assets that make money for him. And The Art of Saying No, by the way, if you don't have that book is awesome. So is a to-do list formula. It's a good one. This is where you have to change your subconscious mind when it comes to this. Okay. You have to start imagining yourself shipping. I had to imagine myself being a successful YouTuber to do this right now. Will I be? Yeah, because I've imagined the end. How long will it take? I have no idea. It doesn't matter. I enjoy even one person who gets something out of this makes a lot more money in their business. Perfect. That's awesome. But my subconscious mind before was you're an imposter. You shouldn't get, despite having several 7-figure businesses, despite being in real estate and crypto and virtual staffing and drop shipping and all these other things, you, Dean, are an imposter. So that one of the first things to get back in this game was to imagine getting that silver play button and getting that gold play button, holding it, feeling it. What does that mean? What does that imply? One of them implies that I have 100,000 subscribers. The other implies that I have 1 million subscribers. How did I get those? I have a successful YouTube channel. And so changing that subconscious mind to be able to ship and ship and ship is how you start sending out your art to everybody. The more art that you send, the more you ship, the more marketing it is. Obviously, you need to do, like, for my videos, I'd use Opus.pro, I think it is, Opus Clip, and I send a whole bunch of videos out, like clips and stuff like that, on LinkedIn and TikTok and YouTube Shorts and so on and so forth. The thing is that the more you ship, the more attention you're going to get. But virality is a byproduct, not a strategy. I have a TikTok video that has a decent amount of views. I was just sharing how to create a business process business proposal template that's worked for me, and I think it has like 60,000 views or whatever, and I get like likes all the time off of that, and that's not a ton of views, like, comparatively to like millions or whatever, but that's an asset that has brought in people liking and engaging and so on and so forth. It might have brought in some money, I'm not sure, but on a regular basis, right? And that's when I wasn't really even shipping that much. The more you ship, the more the likelihood of stuff like that happens. Okay. You want to create value. Like, for me, what's more important to me? 1 million views on something, or 10 views of people who really truly resonate and are part of my ideal client profile? If I have 10 people who would be perfect clients for Prosulum versus 1 million people who are just consumers with no business at all, those 10 are far more valuable to me. And if I can ship things that are valuable to them, they're more likely to become a client. And I'd make more money with 10 people who see my stuff than 1 million people 10 people who are my ideal client versus 1 million people who are not. Okay. And so I've already had people, just based off of these videos, already had people set up discovery calls and become clients. Okay. And so that wouldn't have happened if I didn't ship. And so a lot of times we are sad that we're not getting virality, or we're not getting what the world thinks we want. It's still your responsibility to ship. And this is exactly what I said before, is that less is more. Like, embrace the limitations. I'm speaking to a specific audience, an audience that wants to build a business that works without them, that is automated, that's an asset, that they are in love with systems, they're in love with changing their subconscious mind, they are in love with effectiveness, they're in love with being able to build scalable teams, businesses, and so on, and obviously save money too if you're in the States. So less is more. Embrace limitations. One of my favorite chapters of the book Rework is a chapter called Embrace Constraints. And their point in it is that some of the most beautiful artwork, like a haiku cannot be a haiku if it doesn't have a specific format. A sonnet cannot be a sonnet if it doesn't have a specific format. The more you have a constraint, the more that you can, you'll end up being creative, and the more you're able to deliver specific value to a specific audience. Less is more. So you need to embrace those limitations. Start small, ship early, iterate fast, and say no by default to maintain focus. Like saying no to a lot of things is so good, especially in the beginning. This is one thing, this is what we do, and that's that. Simple solutions beat complex ones. Constraints force innovation. Ship, and don't be afraid to just ship things that you feel are valuable, that you know your clients will love, they give feedback, and you're not creating this mass, like you're not just like shotgunning, you're giving value to those who deserve it. And then we have this is our constraint, right? We have our freedom framework, basically. The systems plus outsourcing equals freedom. So when people come into they schedule a discovery call with us, we don't want the person who just wants a typical virtual assistant, typical employee. We don't want that person that's like, I just want them to read my mind and do what I say. They write out on Slack, they say, go make money for me on social media. No. We want that person who says, okay, so this is how we run our Instagram, and they create a little 5-minute video or something like that. Then the VSA documents it. Then the owner is able to delegate that task and then scale, and allows the owner to now focus on the vision and strategy and so on. Okay. This allows you to scale faster, double your profits, and reduce workload by 80%. Okay. That's the type of person. We actively tell people no if they just want. We'll have people who come in and say, hey, yeah, I don't do anything on social media now. Can I just get somebody who can come in and do that for me? We say no, because you don't even know your process. How are you going to teach somebody? You don't know what's effective. You don't know what's efficient. We want somebody who says, this has worked for me. I'm going to create a video, a 5-minute video, 10-minute video, hand it off. It gets documented, delegated, and then I'm able to scale it. Okay. So if that's you, go to www.prosulum.com/schedule. It's where you can schedule your free discovery call. Are you ready to just ship it? Are you ready to stop overthinking? Are you ready to systemize? Are you ready to start giving your art to everybody, to get back into your business as the artist and not the person who just puts out fires all day? If that's you, go to prosulum.com/schedule. Would love to get on a call with you and see if you're a good fit. And with that, go ship your art. People are waiting for it. And I know it's going to be great. And even if it's one person who's willing to pay for that art out of 10, that is valuable feedback. Okay. So you got it in you. You're an artist. Start shipping. And I'll see you in the next video.